my circles apart because last time I introduced Cindy to one of my friends, now they call each other Prima, like even before the Prima's podcast. And I was like, that's it. I drew the line from Cindy
Prima
after that.
I
wonder why.
Blood sisters.
I know.
Yeah, no. Jessica says that, like, I steal her friends, but like she also stole the Pink Ladies at one point, and I was like, whoa, no one comes between me and the Pink Ladies. Yeah, that was like my little high school crew, or not high school crew, but like my childhood friends, and
all of a sudden she's
Jessica,
like having brunch with them. Bro.
It was just, I was like, Jess, please don't do this. Please don't do this right now. And she was just like, what about if we change the name up? I was like, Jess. And all my friends were like,
you wanted to change the name? Oh my God.
To Wolfpack.
And my friends are like, he's cute. We love her. Where's Jessica? And I was like, okay.
She's not here
That's
no
it.
more.
Yeah. I was like, Jessica's not coming around anymore. Somebody else asked for Jessica.
But Prima Cindy, yes, let's talk about that Spanish podcast.
Yes.
Help our Latinos. Yes.
Yeah. For sure. Oh yeah. I need to do that. It's hard to do a podcast.
I know.
But
Prima Merilyn is available.
Yeah. No, please, let's talk. Like, I do want to do it. I'm literally what we're talking about, is just talking about them in Spanish. And
we would blow up because the Hispanic community needs us. Like, los necesitan. Jessica, you don't understand what I just said, but just know that
half white.
You're done. My picture will be up next.
Oh, I'm just gonna slow every season. Like, just gonna be like, white. Whoa.
It's gonna be like a gold member situation when it's like everyone leave the room. Not you, number 2. Not you, mini me.
So like really crowded on my screen.
Yep.
The screen has like way too many boxes now.
It's so funny.
So Merilyn, you stay put. You just relax.
Just mute and
it's awkward.
Turn off your computer.
Jessica, can you send your mic over? Let me give you my address. You will have no use for that.
Stop! I'm like crying, and we haven't even started.
This happens. This is payback, Jess. For that time you suggested you change our name, and Cindy was like, "Why do we even call ourselves the Pink Queen? That was your thing." And brought up stuff. But anyway, okay. Welcome everybody to the Primas podcast. I'm so excited for our topic today. I feel like we haven't said that. Remember we used to say that like religiously? And so I'm so excited. Jessica, are you excited?
I am. I've been preparing for this topic for a while since 2 stories broke out. And ever since then, sorry guys, I'm crying of laughter because Merilyn and Cindy.
We hit it off. Me and our special guest hit it off, and it's the first time we meet. And this tends to happen a lot.
Yeah,
between Jess's friends and me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a match made in heaven. But Jess, please introduce.
Yes. So before we start jumping into this topic, I do want to introduce our guest speaker. She's a great friend of mine. We've known each other for about 8 years. We used to work together at Lomar. Shout out Lomar days. We bonded over our dark sense of humor. Since then, we've been in contact. She's in her last year for MSW at CSUN. How amazing. She's MSW? A mother. MSW, yeah. She's in her last year.
What does that mean?
Masters of Social Work. She's a mother, a wife, and now a prima. Welcome to the Primas podcast, Merilyn Stephanie Santana.
Yay.
Thank you, Jessica, for that long-winded introduction.
It was very beautiful.
Yes, it was very touching. I almost had to get a tissue. But so yeah, I'm here. My name's Merilyn. I'm happy to be on with you guys, and I feel like a movie star. Like I told my coworkers, yo, I need to be off right at 5 because I'm recording a podcast today. So thank you so much for having me. A little bit about myself and how I met Jess. Like she said, we met at Lone Mart. We're giving them free advertisement, Jess, free advertisement. And ever since, I haven't been able to get rid of her. Like we've just been stuck together. We've already planned our kids' future marriage, arranged marriage.
Yeah, I like that. Our kids are about a year apart, right, Mer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, right? A little, a year and 2 months, I think.
Yeah. So they're going to be perfect together. They're going to grow up. So thanks, Merilyn, for coming on. And this topic actually came to us from a viewer. Shout out to Amiga Veronica. She had shared a story with us. Prima, stop trying to take all my friends.
Shout out, Prima. You are the most.
Yes, shout out
Yeah.
to the Prima for bringing this topic up.
Yeah, so my friend had showed us this story, which I forwarded to both of you. It was about postpartum depression. So this is a heavy topic, and I thought we needed to touch it, like kudos to Vero for inspiring this topic, and thanks for Merilyn for coming on, because we're all moms. This is a very relatable topic, and it's something that I think older generations tend to like brush off, but we've seen how real it is. And with these two stories, I'm just going to jump into them and paint the picture of what postpartum could possibly look like. So the first story sent to us was a 24-year-old in New York City was arrested for multiple charges for throwing her 2-year-old out of a 2-story building, as well as her newborn. Everyone survived. This took place in June. The second story was a 28-year-old who killed all 3 of her children right here in East LA. All 3 children, ages 4, 3, and 1 month old. Unfortunately, all of them were dead at the scene, except mom. They had arrested her and taken her into custody. So when I heard these stories, when they were shared with me, I broke down. I just understood and put myself in their shoes. Like, I can't even imagine the amount of mental health and physical, emotional, everything above what these women were feeling for them to take it to that extreme. And I know I just said 2 intense stories, and I kind of want to unpack these before moving forward. So do you ladies have anything to add?
I mean, I read the stories, the ones you sent over, and it was hard to read them because it's so relatable, and it's sad how it's such a stigma for women when you have a kid. Like, people are just concerned about the baby, but what about, how is the mom feeling? What am I, and I'm gonna say myself, because this is something that I dealt with. But as a mom, what am I going through? Like, what am I feeling? Who cares about my feelings? Who's going to take care of my needs? Like, I understand the newborn's here, and that should be what society thinks a priority. But as women, we normally just kind of brush it off. Like, we're going to get over this. It's going to be okay. So this, reading those stories, and the first one of the New Yorker, at the end, it says like that the gentleman that came out to try and help the babies, the mom said before she was arrested, like, thank you so much. Take care of my daughter. And that's like strong. Like, that really hit me, because it's like, mom is asking for help, but where is the help? So, it's sad to read these stories. And it's even harder when you start reading the comments and people are just like, she's such a bad woman. She shouldn't be having kids, because you're not thinking about the mom. I mean, what mental state is this mom in? And where are we as a society to try and step in and offer that help? Let's not just blame the mom,
So much hormone sensitivity. Like, I've always had hormonal acne, and just like my periods are horrible. My pregnancies are horrible. And just, but I never have had postpartum depression. And I wanted to ask both of you, because I know Jessica has also mentioned that she experienced like the baby blues. What were your experiences like? Like, I still want to talk about the stories, but I also want to, like, why are we really talking about this? Because you guys have both experienced it. So I want to see, like, well, how do you feel? Like, how do you identify, I guess, with those stories that you felt empathy, like when you heard them, versus that mom's crazy,
Yeah, definitely. So I was 27 when I had my daughter, really young. My pregnancy was unplanned. Everything up until the moment I found out I was pregnant was very uncertain, right? I had to change my living situations very quickly. This kid was coming. I had to figure out like what I was going to do after this kid was born. And all those feelings plus everything else, right? Life happening. And then when my daughter came, she came the same month Dad and I had just moved in for the first time in the same month. So not only had we been together for a short period of time, now we moved in by ourselves together in a 1-bedroom apartment. And then this baby came into the picture. And I was completely unprepared. Even though I read the baby books, even though I read what to expect when you're expecting, none of that prepared you for when you became a mom. And it was everything. Like baby blues is mood swings, is uncontrollable, like crying for no reason. I remember looking at my baby, a newborn, and just crying hysterically for no reason. She was fine. She was healthy. She was fed. She was clean. There was no reason for me to, you know what I mean? But those are baby blues. The irritability and the overwhelming feeling of like, now I have the responsibility of this child's life in my hands. And I feel like, yeah, there's no preparation for that. But I feel like not everyone also talks about that, you know, because everyone was emphasized on the labor part. And I'm like, to me, that was the easiest thing. You know what I mean? Like my body knew what to do. I was surrounded by a team who was prepared for that moment, but no one talks about the aftermath. And yeah, like Merilyn had said in the beginning of these two stories, what about mom? And it's such a stigma that we need to break where like, well, you have it under control. You're a woman. You have to do everything society has for you, plus now take care of this newborn. And then there's those stigmas where it's like, I have to do it alone. And I remember in the first 6 or 8 weeks, I insisted on taking care of my daughter alone. I was just like, no, I don't need help. No, I don't need help. And like, I go back and I play that in my mind. Like, why was I so adamant about not receiving any help? You know what I mean? And my question always goes back to, society implements these like, well, you're strong. You can do this by yourself. You don't need anyone. This is your kid. You know what I mean? And even the sleep cycles are so thrown off because baby doesn't sleep at night. Baby is awake up all night and sleeps all day, you know, for 8 to 6 weeks. And we've had topics about how important adequate sleep is, you know, and it's just little things like that just snowball effect. And yeah, so that's what I had. Like, I would say for a good 6 to 8 weeks until she started sleeping right, I would have these feelings and emotions I really couldn't control.
Oh, that's crazy. That sounds very stressful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelming, I would say. Merilyn?
Yeah, I mean, like Jessica, well, my pregnancy was different. I was 30 when I found out I was pregnant. And so, and I'm going to put it out there because I know a lot of women go through this and suffer from this. I have PCOS, like I don't even know what it stands for. Well, PCOS, it has to do with having cysts in your ovaries. I don't have cysts, but then I have other effects of PCOS, which one of them being I didn't get my periods regularly. So I found out I was pregnant when I was 5 months. I got dizzy at a grocery store. It prompted me to take a pregnancy test. And then I'm married. I told my husband, hey, I'm pregnant. I cried because I thought I wasn't ready to be a mom, because I had all these ideas in my head, like, I need to finish school. I need to travel more. We need to do this. We need to buy a house. So all these things that I've had set up in my head, like, it just really triggered, these feelings of, I'm not, worth it. Like, now what am I going to do? My life is over. I'm going to be a mom in 4 months. So, after I found out, I went to the doctor. Sure enough, I thought I was going to be 3 weeks, a month, maybe pregnant. They told me you're 5 months and you have a week to decide whether or not you want to keep this baby. Obviously
Wow.
it was so hard. Like, I started crying. I called my husband, like, hey, bro, you need to come to the hospital because I'm going to be here all day and I'm 5 months. So just having those like feelings already of
Wow.
what am I going to do and how are we going to prepare in 4 months to be parents? You know, no one's ever ready to be a parent, but when you're just given like that short amount of time, you know, you start feeling all kinds of stress, anxiety. And I think that's what added to my postpartum depression. You know, after I had the baby, I went through the process, like I could not even hold them. Like I felt like I would cry all the time. And luckily my aunt, she's like my mom, she helped me with the baby like for the first 2 months because I could not even get out of bed. I had intrusive suicidal thoughts like maybe it's not worth it. Like maybe this isn't for me and maybe it's easier to just like take some pills and just go to bed and not wake up or like ask my tia that I'm going to go to Target and never come back. You know, it was those intrusive. I never acted on it. I never had this like plan, but I had those intrusive thoughts and they lasted. Like even after the 2 months that my aunt helped me, I came back home with my husband. Like I could not take care of this baby. Like my husband would have to miss work and he missed work for, a few, like more than 2 weeks. Like he had to say, hey, I need to help my wife because I could not do it alone. And it's just, reading those stories, it just brought these feelings in me. Like it sucks because no one prepares you. And then if you go into a pregnancy already feeling stressed out or feeling depressed because you feel like your life is over because you're pregnant, then it just like carries on into like after you have the child, like postpartum. So, I just, intrusive thoughts. It wasn't until like 6 months after when I told myself, hey, you need help. Like I work in mental health. At the time I was working for the Access Center for DMH. I dealt with suicidal calls. I listened to all these depressive stories. And then I told myself, like, if you don't get help, your Fonz, which is my husband, he's going to be calling in asking for PMRT to come out and evaluate you because you're going to do something. And, I didn't want to hurt the baby or anything, but I just, felt that I wasn't worthy. And so then I got help. I was able to go to therapy, seek therapy, and I'm still going to therapy, but I was able to overcome this. But without that, I don't know if I would be here because the thoughts were just getting stronger and stronger.
Wow.
Thank you, Merilyn, for sharing that and being vulnerable and transparent with your story. But those are signs, and there's no one size fits all solution. It hits everybody different. Everything in between mine and Merilyn's symptoms and everything outside of it, there's no one way to say like, okay, well, this person is or is not, how unfair are we to like judge someone based off, we have no idea how they're feeling.
Exactly.
And that's why, yeah, even though these two women did go to the extreme measures, it's just like I can't even imagine all the built up, because I'm sure they didn't just wake up one day and had these thoughts. Like you said, it's a built up of like of emotions and not coping with it at the time, but I feel like it's so hard. And is the help really there? I mean, I'm asking you guys, do you feel like there is help there?
I was lucky and I'm privileged because I work for the county and I have that county insurance. So the help was there for me. It was just a matter of me reaching out and saying, even at my 6-week checkup, I was crying. I just couldn't do it. And my doctor's like, you need to go to therapy. And they linked me right away. But I just ignored it. Like I went once and then stopped going. And then it wasn't until down the line when I was like, I can't do this anymore. But for someone that doesn't have that privilege or doesn't have the insurance, what are you going to get? You're going to get referred over to DMH, a system. And then you're going to have to fight with them to get an appointment maybe 6 months down the line because they don't have enough therapists. So I think that's a bigger problem. Like these systems that are in place that aren't really there to help people. They're just there to serve as a Band-Aid.
Yeah. And
Merilyn,
sorry,
I was just going to say, Merilyn keeps saying DMH, and that's the Department of Mental Health.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Which is a county system. Yeah.
in LA.
In LA.
one thing I keep hearing is that, like, for example, the people in the stories, they might not have had a support system, like you said, Merilyn, right? Like you had different privileges that
Hmm.
you could turn to. And Jessica, as much as you were saying no, like you have a very loving mother and two sisters and dad, and I'm sure there's more people, but I know that you know what I mean? Like they were still kind of, I don't know, like I'm sure they could have sensed if something would have happened. And
Mhm.
I feel like some of these more extreme cases where people do act on it is because they don't have those support systems, or the people in their environment are, or they might think like you're, like we said in the comments, like you're a bad mom, versus imagine having a newborn and a 2-year-old. I mean, people who have kids back to back like that, like I get it, it's convenient, but even me with my daughter, I'm like, I could never imagine, you know what I mean? Like, and I am, I co-parent. So when she's with me, it's kind of like just me, and it's so difficult. And so I think, of those women that they're by themselves all day, every day, with two kids under the age of 4, and they're having these thoughts. They can't talk to anybody because they probably don't trust anybody, or, like they don't have those resources, like emotional or even just insurance wise, like they don't
Hmm.
know. They probably think like I'm a horrible mom, or like I can't, I'm just trying to put my feet, I'm trying to put, yeah, my feet in their shoes and in your shoes. And it just seems like that's one thing, right? Like you both mentioned that. I think with these other cases that are more extreme, like we don't think of that. We don't think this person doesn't have anybody else besides her living situation.
Exactly. And I think COVID was another factor, like a lot of things closed down out here, like way more intense. We're in California and New York states, right? Because Cindy,
Hmm.
daycare never really closed. I think Peace only didn't go for like a month, Prima, and she was still back in hers, right?
She didn't, she ended, like, how like it started in March-ish. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't go back that school year, but then they went
Okay.
back the following, like in August.
August,
Yeah.
got
And
it.
then they completed that whole school year.
Yeah. So a lot of places, even out here, I struggled to find a place for Melody, where that was open full time or that was even affordable
Yeah.
because all the less of like the ones that I could afford were closed because they were just shut down for whatever reason. Um, and not all daycares were open. So imagine like, yeah, maybe these kids could have gone to daycare, probably would have been there, and she was just home with the newborn and the other two were there. But with COVID, everything just shut down, so you were with these kids 24/7.
By yourself.
Yeah, by yourself, no outlet, no going out of the house, no doing this or that. And most parks in LA, the city of LA, were closed for how many
Yeah,
months?
they were shut down for a
Yeah.
while.
And it's just like, imagine, I can't even comprehend that. And we were all struggling, and to say like no one struggled and putting that aspect on top of having a newborn. And even the uncertainty of like the pregnancy, the labor, like a lot for the longest, like I think she was only allowed, and not having your support system at the time of delivery. All that was taken away. We were told not to go to anyone's house but your own family, like the people you live with.
Yeah.
So even more isolation than typically,
Right. Like a friend or a neighbor even.
Yeah. That you would
And
go talk to or let the kids go play with.
mhm. The people that, have gone to jail or whatever for these situations, it goes back to like a lot of the lack of mental health awareness, because they're like, oh, she's a bad mom. She's a monster. She killed her kids. And it's just like, you're not evaluating the situation. That's not common for a mom to do this. Moms are like hardwired, and we know by experience, to
Hmm.
protect and love this, to do our best. It's so effing stressful, right? To even with other people, like we look around and I can say, oh, Jessica, relax, when she's with doing her mom thing. And people always tell me like, oh my God, relax. You have a crazy sleeping schedule. And I'm like, you don't fucking get it, man. Like we're all trying to,
Yeah.
it's so hard, and so there's just a lot we don't pay attention to. And I think women and women's studies and period talk, we've talked in the past about how we don't use the word vagina. Like that's just so weird. And the whole culture, I think, around like women's issues it's
Can't-
taboo. It's like weird to talk about. And I think that's another big problem, because unless you experience it personally and you actually go and do the research, you have the resources or the mental capacity to be like, hey, I think there's something wrong with me. A lot of this just goes unnoticed, and it's just like, what bad moms or what horrible people that, for anybody that kills somebody, there's something clearly wrong, you know, and we label it, they're crazy, let's just put them away in a dungeon. It's just like, that's not solving anything.
It's so unfortunate how, you know, we hear these cases, like we experience, like I experience it, and it's, but when nothing's getting done, that's where I, you know, I'm just, even now that I'm in, as Jessica said, the Master's of Social Work program, I'm going into my last year, which is my capstone year. And this is a topic that I'm thinking I'm going to do a little more research on. And this, I want to run with this, because that stigma of just, you know, women are meant to be strong, you know, women are meant to do everything, but you know, we're human. Like we feel things, we need help. And just, it's just tough, like reading the stories, just now thinking about COVID, as Jessica brought it up, I can't even imagine how these moms, like new moms that maybe are single moms, lost their job, or, you know, trying to do everything, trying to apply for unemployment or disability, have two other children at home, don't have the support. Even with like funding for childcare, I know that funding for childcare was reduced as well. So what happens next? Like, what are you supposed to do? Who do you go to?
Right. And we no longer have like that. I don't know if we once did, because I wasn't here in the past, but like, you know, like that village mentality where we kind of all watch children, you know, or now it's got to the point where we don't really trust anybody, right? Like that's, I feel like, a big like millennial culture, which I think is like the cause and effect. I don't think it's like, oh, that's so sad. Like, I don't like when people talk negative, you know, for me, it's just like, no, we're all just reaping what we sow, right? We talk about that. And I think we need to do a better job. And I think it starts with us, as always, right? Like me, now that I've been through this, or even if you haven't, like to educate yourself, like if you're a partner of someone that's a man, you know, like preparing before you're just to kind of like what to look out for. Because Jessica, did you know, like when you were feeling that, did you know there was something wrong, or you were just like, this is where I'm at?
No, I knew. I had read about it. So I was anticipating that. I didn't know what to expect. And then when I was writing it and going through the waves of all of that, I remember having a few doctor checkups as well. I think right after I had the baby. And then like one at 2 or 3 months when I went back to work. And at both times, I remember talking to my doctor about it and be like, well, is this normal? Is this normal? And then like I remember taking a survey, and then mine came out like, yeah, like it's gonna pass. And if I continue to feel like this, then let him know. But shortly after the second time I met with him, and again, I don't remember when it was exactly, I felt better. I felt like I was leveling out in a way. Like I was getting a grip of like not only motherhood, but like getting ready to go back to work and school, you know, because I had started school when my daughter was 3 months. So I feel like around 3 months I started. But yeah, I do recall it. And I remember talking to my mom a lot, you know, like that was my savior, my mom. Like I always, till this day, my daughter's going to be 4. I always tell my mom, like, how the hell did you do it with us 3? And I could easily see her, you know, like I question how strong she was in those moments because she didn't have anyone. She was a stay-at-home mom and took care of us until we were all in grade school. And then just, yeah, like I remember she was always just on top of everything. And I'm like, I'm struggling with one. And by this age, she already was pregnant with another and so forth, one more. So if it wasn't for my mom, like I had that network, yeah, I don't know if I would have be where I'm at right now as a mother.
Very vulnerable stories. Thanks for sharing, both of you. That sucks, right? Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we ever gave like the definition of postpartum depression, but it's in the name.
Mm-hmm.
after you have your child, it's depression. And depression can go in very many different ways. Like some moms commit suicide themselves. Some think that they get so paranoid, right? Like, and they think someone's going to kill them, and so they kill their kids. I saw one story that said, like, someone was going to kill my kids, so I just killed them to protect them. Like, clearly that's someone that, wait, that doesn't make any, what's going on, you know? Like, you would think people would look a little bit more into it. And that's great that you're going into more depth into that topic, Merilyn, because when I was looking for different solutions that I would feel comfortable saying, like, oh, I saw this, there wasn't that much. A lot of it was like, oh, it's unknown. And a lot of, like we said, like menstrual situation, menstrual, like PMS, like premenstrual symptoms. And like when you do get pregnant, and there's this disease called Hyperemesis Gravidarum, and it's just like sickness throughout your whole entire pregnancy, but like the mom loses a lot of weight and it's not always like diagnosed. And so I got that when I was pregnant, and I didn't have like a doctor's note, and I was in and out of the hospital, and I lost a lot of weight. And you know, even I feel like even caregivers sometimes are like, they're not oriented to know or understand a woman's biology. Like, I know we have a lot of study on it, but not to the depth of like, why don't we have more information on this? That women have to go to the extremes and actually commit something crazy because no one even knows what, oh, she's a bad mom, right? Like other women that have almost felt similar will say like, she's a bad mom. And it's just like, we can't think that way.
And I think it has to do with like women not reporting the feelings, or you know, the psychosis. For example, they start hearing the voices, the hallucinations. It goes unreported because a lot of women think like, oh, I'm just going to keep this to myself. This is just like part of the process of becoming a mom. Or, you know, maybe I'm not going to bring it up because then people are going to think I'm a horrible mom because I'm thinking this way, because I don't have that connection with the baby. So I think because it goes unreported, there isn't a lot of study. Like before the podcast, I decided like to go online and start doing some research. And even like in the American Psychological Association, they estimated that 1 in 7 women experience postpartum depression, but then they're not really sure of the statistics because it's so underreported.
Good point.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're right. There should be like more emphasis, because again, they just show us up until the labor part, right? Well, what about after, how to feel? Like, where are the slideshows for that? Like, no, when people think of voices, they're like, well, I'm not crazy. And it's just like, no, it doesn't come like that. You know, it's like these little auditory, it could even be yourself, like that dialogue. And those are not red flags, you know, that's something you're learning in like a grad program. But you're right. When we were moms, and I remember like reaching out to you because I felt it. And like all my new moms after that, I'm like, hey, like I'm here for you. Like I was always texting in the beginning because I feel like that network, like no one prepares you for, no one shows you like, hey, well, this can happen to you. Or like, where's the picture for this hallucination, you know, or how come we don't hear those words during our pregnancy, you know, like, well, let's talk about after how you're going to feel. Exactly. And there's so many chemicals released at the time of birth. You know what I mean? It's just like, we don't learn this stuff.
And even at the hospitals, like there's so much emphasis on like, oh, you got to breastfeeding. But what about like linking me to a support group or telling me like, hey, if you start feeling this way, you know, you should definitely bring this up to your provider or give us a call or here's some resources for you. Like, where's the hospital social worker at that point? Because I ended up, so, you know, after I was going through these symptoms and like these strong suicidal ideations, like intrusive thoughts, like I knew that there was not really resources, but I knew like there's support groups. So I joined a few support groups on Facebook where I could read other stories of moms that were going through the same thing that I was going through, or even worse. Like just knowing that I'm not alone in this battle, like helped me out a lot. And you know who suggested that? And my husband did. Out of like all people, I'm like, bro, like, thank you. Because a lot of men aren't like Prima Cindy said, they're not prepared. And so when I would always talk to him like, this is how I'm feeling. And I'm feeling like, you know, I'm a bad mom and I'm feeling like really sad and I just want to disappear. And he's like, you know what, join a support group. Facebook has all kinds of support groups. And I did, sure enough, like I posted on there a few times, like, hey, like, what are you guys doing when, you know, you start feeling like you're not worthy, or you're not a good mom, or maybe it's not even meant for you to be here. And a lot of moms, I was surprised, like a ton of moms commented like, you're not alone, here's my number, call me. So it's like that army of women, just knowing that they're out
That's
there.
great.
Oh, that's making me emotional. That, like, yeah. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I just see the negative, you know, and I try to be there for my friends that I see on social media, you know, like I'll comment and they're like, oh, my mom friends and this and that, like, oh, did you try this? And I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter. Do whatever makes you happy. Stop catering to the baby who doesn't even care what pacifier you use, or if they're getting formula or breastfed. Do whatever works best for you, because you're just adding that other stressor that I already know what they're going through. You know what I mean? Like adapting to being a new mom. And I'm like, what I always reply back to like my friends like that. And sometimes like I get responses back and sometimes I don't, but I'm like, at least I said my piece, you know, at least I opened that door like, hey, I'm here, and just do whatever makes you happy. Stop like going whatever society thinks is like a good mom supposed to look like, you know? And it was those little like accomplishments, like, yeah, I didn't do everything today, but we're here, I'm here, my kid's here, and we just took a bath, you know, there's an accomplishment. And it's those little like breaks that I feel like are not given enough credit for. It's like, it's always those big things like, oh, are you doing this? Like, or are you grinding your own kids' food? Because you can't give them processed food. And it's just like, let's go back to like what Cindy said back in the day, the huts. No, we didn't grind our food and our kids survived some way. So we got to get those society like frameworks out of our head. Like, no, we just got to do whatever works best for us.
Exactly.
And like mom always knows best for her own kid, you know, what worked for Cindy, what worked for Merilyn is probably not going to work for me. And that's okay.
Yeah. It's important to know who we are, right? Like that's why and that's another thing I don't think we talk about, because I've been trying to cure my hormone sensitivity for a few years now, and I'm still so much on my personal research through food, through plants. And I think I'm very like sensitive, you know, like as a person to my environment, emotionally, mentally. And so that forced me to look into who I am. And I think that's another thing that we don't learn about. And I think that's something that we have to learn. We can't wait for someone else to be our support system. We have to be strong and smart and conscious enough to say, I need the help, or I'm going to prepare. But also like I take into consideration, like you said earlier, Merilyn, like you had some privileges, like so did I, right? Like I had my daughter, I think I was established career-wise, I had money. So I thought, okay, I know what I'm doing now. And I still didn't, right? And we even come from those privileges. Like I was able to do it, you know, and I didn't have a fear of not being able to do it. And even then it's so hard. So I can imagine people that aren't there yet, right? Or they're younger, or not that when you're younger, you don't have it together. That just happened to me because I know young moms that do. But it's just hard all around. And the more we get to know each other as women, because there is no research out there, there is some research out there, but I think, like you guys said, we're so different. Everyone is we have to find what works for us. And so I think that's a part of the solution I want to kick us off with. It's a general thing, right? With any sickness or with any emotion, like it's better when we look deeper into it and like research it and see like what works, what can I look into that fits my framework. Solutions on postpartum depression?
I mean, I think it's like you said, it's up to you to see what works for you. But in some instances, like you do need that support because you feel lost, like being a new mom, or even imagine like someone that's coming to this country, like undocumented, pregnant, maybe like experience extensive trauma in their country. and they're coming out here, they don't know the language. Like, how are they supposed to look for this support, or how are they supposed to know what would work for, how to find it? And I think about it like, what about these women, and how can I make a change? Like, how can I be the change for that next mom that feels like she's alone in this? And like Jessica, I think Jessica, like I said, I've been trying to get rid of her, but not really. Because Jessica was like, none of my friends have kids. Like, well, now, two have children, but after me. But before that, it was only Jess. And then I had no one. Like, none of my siblings have children. My siblings are all around my age, so we haven't had a child around in many years. So I was like, what do I do? And Jessica was like that. Like, she was my wing girl. I hit her up like, Jess, I don't even know, like, my kid cries all night. What do I do? Like, what kind of, like, do I put him in a bassinet? What do I do? How do I change his diaper? And I want to thank Jessica, for being that support, because that's how we uplift women, especially in a time of need.
Yeah.
You're welcome there.
Yeah.
I know. I
So
remember
I
we
think
would
for
always
me, like, a
text each other.
solution is, finding your, but what I was going to, sorry, I think I cut off, but a solution, I think, is just like finding that support, like whether it be your neighbor, whether it be like, a friend, a social media, if you can find a support group, because that's going to help you immensely.
Well
Just
said,
knowing
Merilyn.
someone cares.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of our solutions is gonna go into that, because mine is similar. Like, for this past Mother's Day, I posted a picture of me, my mom, my two sisters, and my daughter. And in the caption, I wrote, like, it takes a village to raise a kid. And every year, it just reminds me, like, even though my daughter's getting older and you think it gets easier, it doesn't, And I'm forever grateful for them. And I think we've all said it in and out of this conversation today, where we need to rely on that network of not only women, but my network of women is my immediate family, and even with Cindy and like my cousins now all are all mothers, and I feel that sense of empowerment when I'm with them, and they don't make me feel bad at being a parent or anything like that. And for that, I'm forever grateful, because without these women in my life, I don't think I would be here, I don't think I would have been able to finish school and pursue my dreams, without the support of these women in my life. So it really takes a village. And I hope, if that's one thing anyone wants to take away, it's like network, to whoever you find that comfort and trust within.
Yes. Beautifully said, ladies. I think the support group and creating your village even beforehand is a beautiful thing. And even if I was alone a lot during my pregnancy, just because me and my mom moved to Colorado and the rest of my family is either in Mexico or in LA. And so I, I kind of feel for those moms, like you were saying, Merilyn, earlier, that come maybe from a different country, or they're moving, right, for whatever reason, and they don't know too many people. I didn't know a lot of people, but I prayed for it. I said, I can't do this by myself. Like, there's no way, even just to talk, even just like, hey, this is weird, right? Yeah, that's totally normal, or that's totally weird normal. Like, even just to talk, right? Like, it's just so important. And so I think those support systems, you can, even if you don't have them, like, pray for them, attract them. That's what I did. I was so blessed. And around that time, now looking back, because my daughter's getting older, but it was amazing, the support that I had. And it's so hard. We didn't have a lot of people out here. So yeah, the support system is great. The other thing that I wanted to mention very quickly, just because I am into like nutrition and like plant medicine, I'm not like a curandera. I wish that's what I aspire to be. I got to keep doing a lot of research, but one thing that has helped me, especially when I'm very strict on it, is like my diet. And so in the past, right now, I need to clean up my diet, but like I know that sugar is like really detrimental to like a lot of different health issues. And I know that adding greens to our health is very important. to a lot of different health issues like cancer, you know, different hormone imbalances. And I know that when I'm not like on top of my greens and I'm consuming like soda here and there or cookies here and there or any little thing, for me, I'm very sensitive to those things. Like it really causes issues with my hormones, with my pH balance. Just it's horrible. I'm very sensitive to food. So that's another thing that I just wanted to mention. If you do have hormone sensitivity, to look into cleaning up your diet. And that, I'm not going to go into that, but like there's different ways, you know, you can start doing that. So I would say eliminate sugar. I know that sounds like, oh yeah, that's easy to do, but like just look into sugar, you know, like start doing some research on like the negative effects of sugar, especially in connection to our reproductive health, and then add more greens, like green juices, green teas, green stuff. So yeah. Thank you for sharing, ladies. I feel like that's intense. It's postpartum depression.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the topic. I mean, to the prima that brought it up, thank you for putting it out there, because we definitely need to talk more about this. And this is like, you know, a gateway for someone else that's going to listen to this podcast that might be going through the same thing. Just know that they're not alone.
Well said, ladies.
That's also part of the solution.
Yes, you know, your awareness. Podcast. Yes,
someone's going to hear this and be like, yeah, that's beautiful. Awesome. Yay.
Thank you, guys.
Ladies. Merilyn, you're officially a prima, so welcome to the community. Thank you so much for your time and for being willing to come on.
All right,
thank you for having me.
I'm gonna block you too from each other, like social media now.
That's a
Jessica.
So jealous.
Send me your mic. Let me give you my address.
Hey, just be on the lookout, because me and Merilyn just made a total connection, and I've been talking about doing a Spanish podcast. I don't know if you guys are like day ones, you'll know this, but I've just been meaning to do everything that we're doing like in Spanish, just to bring more awareness to these particular topics to our Spanish speaking communities. So Merilyn's like just did an interview, she didn't even know, and she made it. So look out for that.
Thank you, Prima Cindy.
She made it.
Primas, what are we gonna call this? Jessica, can you get off our staff meeting?
Yes, Jessica, please.
This is like private information.
Jessica, can you make us the host and please remove yourself?
Yeah.
Stop it. I'm going to end this conversation right now and delete everything. Sorry, guys. I get really possessive when it comes to my friends and my circles. I don't like them hanging out with me without me.
I understand. Jess, we're going to translate it for you. We're going to have like subtitles. In English.
We won't let her translate by herself. Have you ever told Prima Cindy about your burrito song?
Tell us about your burrito song.
Oh my gosh, Merilyn. We're gonna go there. We're gonna go low blows right now. No, you can say it. It's so funny. Bro, it's the reason why I love that song.
Okay. So when we used to work at Lone Mart always at Lone Mart, whoever ever called, they could hear the party in the background with the music. So during the holidays, I don't know who was playing Mi Burrito Sabanero.
Oh, no,
someone played it and you listened. And then you started playing it all the time. So Jessica, they were playing Mi Burrito Sabanero, El Burrito Sabanero. You know, everyone knows that song, right?
Yeah.
Obviously not me.
Not exactly. And Jessica was like, I wonder what kind of burrito they're talking about. Like almost like if it was a food. And I'm like, bro, they're talking about a donkey, like not like a carne asada burrito or a pollo burrito.
Jessica, that's like a religious song.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what meat it is.
Exactly. She was like, oh, I wonder what kind of burrito they're talking about.
That was before like I even attempted to learn Spanish. I was like so bad back then. That was like early 20s Jess.
I told her, please remove yourself from this setting.
And everyone was just cracking up. Yeah, like it was like a team of 10 and we were just all laughing. And every year I just like would play that song for as long as we worked together. And still like team members like Merilyn will still tag me on stupid like memes when that song comes around, and so do they. And I'm like, I don't care. I love this song. Now it just always reminds me of Lomart and that team.
She's and like, my comment. Makes me hungry, so
Obviously.
Like I play
She
this.
was
on my way
already
to
trying to
Pizza
order
Hut.
her burrito.
Yeah. She's like, when I eat a burrito, I like to put this in the back. Get me going.
Yeah, that's how she made it seem. I'm like, bro.
I just thought it was so funny. Yeah. You guys are too much.
Yeah.
That's it. Cutting you
All
off.
right. That was a
Okay.
great story. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Merilyn. Thank you, Jess, Prima, for sharing that, for being vulnerable. And we all hope that you liked it, that you got something from this. Please let us know. Give us feedback. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe.